Welcome everybody to a brand new episode of That Korexican Guy. Today I have my good friend Mike on the show today.
Hey Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Always.
Yep.
Mike and Mike in the evening.
Yep. Today we're going to talk about masculinity. And so society typically thinks if you're a man, you bottle up all your, any insecurities you have, you bottle it up and just tough it out. Do you believe in that?
No.
I mean, what do you think? What would be your definition of being a manly man?
I don't know. I mean, you have what society defines as what a manly man is. That exactly what you described. But I think in this day and age, there's such a gray area in that view. You have an older population that sees that as that kind of line in the sand, if you ask about masculinity. And then you have kind of the younger generation where they see it. I mean, it's completely blurred.
Right.
Because you're starting to see,
people opening up to their feelings now. Like actually sharing their feelings,
right?
When back, not even that far long ago, like in the 50s, 60s, it wasn't cool to share your feelings if you're a guy to guy, and that was considered gay,
right?
They would shun you for doing that.
Yeah, I mean it was I mean it's history has defined what a man is, through battle and through those types of things that define. I even think back to, some of the even cartoons that are out now, Family Guy, where Peter Griffin would say, took Chris out to hunt to kill his first whatever so he could become a man.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there was supposed to be a joke on that, a play on that, because I don't think, I don't know, obviously I don't know him personally, but the creator, I don't think he believes in that.
I know, but you know what I mean? It's still that concept.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people believe in it, and it kind of ties in to that idea of alpha and betas, which in the animal kingdom it may exist, and it does. Like certain species has it, but I don't think. Personally, I don't think it does. Like in the literal sense, does in human beings.
Yeah. More of the alpha and omega type, I think, is what we've evolved into a society now.
Yeah, I mean, we're the main, the 1% are the alphas, technically, I guess, people who have the money, who have the power.
Right.
Well, we're just nothing. We're nothing. But the idea of the alpha is, the manly, strongly one, I think that's ridiculous now in this day and age.
Well, I agree, but I mean, and that it's once again goes back to I think what roles society to define for men back in the day. It was the breadwinner. It was, certain jobs that women had certain jobs, and now you see
the roles reversing.
Yeah,
there was for a long time you wouldn't see single fathers anywhere ever. And even now, it's not as common. People always sound like it's weird that for me to be a single father. But I was like, no, I think it's normal because it's just what I am. Just nothing I can. I mean, I could do something about it, but it wouldn't be the right thing to do.
And even the fact that I love cooking. I mean, I do 99% of the cooking in the house.
Which that whole idea of the women in the kitchen, but then the most famous chefs are male, yet the one that cooks it it's supposed to be the cook at home as the female. I always thought that was strange. Like, the whole concept, like, even back then, like, why is that a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make sense. Like, there are a lot of women that I've met that can't cook to save their lives, and not even a pack of ramen. And it'll probably burn the house down just to microwave dinner.
Yeah, I remember, like I said, in college, breaking down the door because one of the young ladies across the hall for the second time had decided to make a can of soup in the microwave in the pot.
The worst thing to do. Explosion, you know.
That was the second microwave. She blew up under the first microwave, microwaving popcorn, but for 30 minutes instead of 3 minutes.
What?
The whole thing went up in flames. So, yeah, she blew up 2 microwaves in less than a week.
That probably wasn't a good thing for her. You know, the school didn't appreciate it, I'm sure.
Nor did her neighbors. They lived across the hall.
I mean, I don't have those kind of experiences, but like, just coming home and the house is pretty much on fire because she couldn't cook, and your ex-girlfriends and things like that. Like going back to the alpha and the beta, like, so like we talked about, you know, every now and then. So in the animal kingdom, the one that's closest to the humans are bonobos, which is actually more of a matriarchal, where the women are the alphas and the men are the betas. What do you think about that? Like, do you think that's kind of... Like, I can kind of see that even with humans sometimes, too, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're starting to see a shift in, stay-at-home dads. Where the, woman makes more money and the guy can stay home. I mean, it's...
There's that, not just that, like... if you want to get with a woman, you have to play their game, and they have all the keys, all the control.
Well, I mean,
there's like more men than women, I think, in general.
Like there's more population-wise in the world. There's more women than men.
Well, I mean,
but it's like 50.2 versus 49.8, or.
But they just have the power, like, especially if they know they're hot, like the society's definition of what is attractive. So they have that power.
Well, and, to be honest, men gave them that power by accident. In all, male glory, the things that happened to women.
And they eventually just had enough.
They had enough, and the court system started to understand that women and men are equal, and today, this day and age, it's.
But we still have like so much like biases towards like what men and women should have. Like, so, let's say in my I'll use my situation specifically. Like, so let's say his mom never went to a psychiatric ward or anything like that. If she were to fight for custody, she would win over me just because she's a woman. In most cases, I wouldn't say it's 100%, but it's higher, more likely than I would.
Oh no, yeah.
Even though I've been the breadwinner taking care of him for the past 10 years, I think that's, in that case, I think that's like, the equality isn't there. But then in other situations, the men still have more power than women, which is starting to see a shift, but still not quite there.
Yeah, I mean, with children, you bring up a whole nother kind of can of worms in rights and things like that.
Because typically the women are the ones that are seen as nurturing than the men, because men are typically the ones that walk away. Because they're the ones they didn't have the kid inside them for 9 months.
But you debate the nature versus nurture,
yeah.
Mentality. I mean, there are some women that I know that couldn't wait to get back to the workforce and not deal with the kid,
Mine wasn't like really getting to the workforce. It was more of a just being able to do whatever the fuck she wants. While I was working, she wasn't doing anything. She said she wanted to work. Okay, go do it. We can get a babysitter. I was willing to work on it, but it just wasn't going to happen. It is what it is.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, alpha versus beta comes back to a lot of the phraseology we use or used to use. That people, you really look at it, you look at a guy and say you throw like a girl. Well, I mean, damn. I mean, I've seen some guys who could not throw a baseball or a ball at all.
Yeah.
And I've seen girls that could throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. So, I mean, it's like, I don't know if that was, that's not an insult anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more of an insult on the female race than...
Well, now it's like... So, this insult I've been seeing going on, like, social media is calling men, the non-manly men, as we just talked about earlier, soy boys. I at first it took me a little bit, but then because if you're into like was just soy in general, you're not as manly. Kind of like when we what we call my character D&D session, that same idea,
right?
Except in humans,
right? And I understand that there are some people that's just been ingrained with, and they'll never change. It's like me wearing the Black Lives Matter shirt that you had made, and
yep.
or even our friend Steve, who was wearing one and was called a wigger.
No, I think that was Nate was called a wigger.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Yeah, that was like the guy. Like he was staring at Nate while he was waiting for the crosswalk. Crosswalk.
That's
line.
right. That's right. It was Nate.
And then as he drove off, and it's like wigger. Like I thought. I always forget that we're still not at 100%. Like I guess like I can't think of the word, but it's like this town isn't 100% progressive.
Yeah, and that guy definitely needs to go look up the definition of wigger in the Urban Dictionary, because anybody out there. Nate is as far from a wigger as you're going to get.
Because that whole term came up during the 90s when all the Jenko jeans, all the white guys wearing that and everything like that. Trying to be a hip hop artist and everything.
Yeah, it's funny because that's when I was in high school and college. I never did any of that.
When I was in South Korea, that was K-pop made the whole super baggy jeans popular out there, so I did that. I wore, except that the difference was, while yes, they were called Jenko jeans, they were obviously knockoffs, and they were very colorful compared to just blue or black ones. So you see red ones, yellow ones, green ones. People wearing that stuff all over Korea.
That's a colorful.
Yes, I think thinking back and all of that, myself, probably the most embarrassing thing for me was wearing that's embarrassing because of who it's meant towards, but it just I wasn't really part of that thing really, but I was trying to be cool, wearing a whole FUBU outfit, very colorful one, they're basically FUBU's camouflage that they had for a while back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then wearing the Timberland boots. The whole get up.
Yeah, see, and I'm one of those people that never, in the early 90s, the cool thing was to roll your jeans so that you were in style.
Yeah.
And you had to do it a specific way. And I still remember in high school a girl coming up to me and, just, I'm sitting on the floor of, the hall, just, looking over notes for a test or something. And she comes up and goes, "You'd be so much cuter if you rolled your jeans." And I'm like, how?
That's doesn't make any sense. You thinking it back now, I'm sure that same person man, I was an idiot.
Wow, he'd be hot if he rolled his jeans.
I still remember one pant leg down and the other side rolled up was a thing for a while too with the baggy jeans.
Well, and you had the Vanilla Ice and the shaved one portion of your eyebrow thing going on too.
And can you believe that he had his own movie? That's a scary thought. That they thought, hey, we take this guy with a one-hit wonder and make a movie out of him.
I don't know. I liked his TV show when he was with the Amish, so that was
I mean, that was a little different, but this is like trying to like make Vanilla Ice like super cool, but it didn't.
Yeah.
It just made him look like an idiot the entire time.
Yeah, well, you know.
They can't all be winners, right?
Sometimes in Hollywood you gamble. And
Well, it's just like, before Marky Mark became a movie star, he had his workout video. Bam! That was his thing before bang,
uh,
And then he was, even though he was an underwear model, he was the epitome of manliness, too. During those times. Like, if you didn't have the six-pack, and can't bounce your pecs, up and down, and, sequence, you weren't manly.
so say the only way my pecs are going to bounce up and down is if I'm jumping.
Same. And I do plan to get my son the trampoline so he has, more things to do.
Oh, Mike, there's an image I'll never get out of my head.
Boop, 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 boop. It's actually a good workout though if you're consistent with it. If you do it every day for a long time. I mean, I probably won't go hard at it myself because I'll probably break the trampoline myself.
Or you'll break something else.
Yes, I'll break something, whether it's a trampoline or myself. I just I lost my train of thought. Like and you must have seen, like, being a teacher, like, how long were you a teacher again?
Almost 20 years.
You've probably seen a trend, like, how much, like, being a teacher on the front, seeing how the kids changed, like, the bullying and everything. The cooler kids were the bullies, and now they're not. If you're a bully, you're an asshole. Which you were always an asshole, but you weren't outed for being an asshole. Like,
Yeah, well, the hardest part now is, when I first started teaching, it was still that defined bully role, the
abused child.
Yeah, all that. And now it's like, as a teacher, you don't see the bullying because it's all done cyberly.
Yeah.
And so you have to, growing up in this day and age, I think it's so much harder, to
deal with it than when we were kids. Like, we could run away from it at least.
Right.
Hide.
Or it would be a name calling thing, and a couple people would hear it, and then it's over. Whereas now, shoot, I can blast out, insult to you on the, in about 8 seconds and hit about 1 million people, and
everybody will be on it. Like, oh, this is a thing. We'll follow this trend.
So it's just a matter of,
The same thing with the whole idea of the cancel culture, like people getting canceled left and right because, oh, I don't believe in what you're doing, so you shouldn't be there. I mean, I know, like, there are people that I guess sort of deserve to be canceled, but just because they don't believe in you doesn't mean you have the right to do that either.
Right.
It was just like, when same idea, like when they canceled like shows like Invader Zim or Ren and Stimpy just because parents didn't approve of it. Yeah. Cancel culture's been there forever. It's just more prominent now. It's easier to find now than it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, they've been going after the video game industry too for forever. Because
first with the Columbine shooting, they're blaming them playing Doom, but that was like took up like maybe a single digit percentage of their time. Most of their time they're doing other stuff, and they've proven through scientific, like that yes, you might get aggressive while you're playing. But typically, you don't. It doesn't follow you afterwards. It's just like, oh, dang, I lost. So you get a little angry, especially if you're playing against somebody else. Like, that's why people are yelling at each other. Oh, you're cheating. You're hacking. Whatever. That's the idea behind it. But you still have politicians. Even our great Daddy Trump. He still wants to blame video games for violence. But I'd be like, what about before video games existed? Like. That didn't. What caused the violence then? What was their excuse then?
Movies.
Before rap music, before metal, It was just. It's always been about a pissing contest, and who can piss the furthest. but no one's ever going to admit that. They want something else to blame so they can hurt somebody else rather than deal with the actual problem and maybe fix it somehow. I mean, there, on all honesty, from at least from my perspective, like there won't be any fixing human nature and their tendency towards violence.
No,
it's always going to be there.
I mean, it goes back to the simple, Darwinist nature of fight or flight. I mean,
it might be different now. Like there are things about that are part of our body even that are there that we don't know why it's there. But there was a purpose for it before, and that's why that's part of the reason why I believe in evolution, that it really is there, not in the way people think it is. It's not like Pokemon where you level up and then all of a sudden you're a different creature. It takes time.
Oh yeah, I'd still like to know what an appendix was really used for, because
we don't know now. It's useless. I mean, you get it cut out, it doesn't affect anything.
Except for it almost, killed me. But
other than that, you get the appendicitis and it's deadly.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we born with it? And now that we have everything we have, yes, having that head of hair is nice, but it's not as needed as it used to be.
Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, I've had bald patches too, so I know. I thought I was going to go bald for a while.
Yeah. I knew I was going bald from an early age because most of even the female side of my mom's side of the family was bald. So
it's hereditary. So I know, from my family, it's not a hereditary thing, but it always happened. There's no saying that it's never going to happen. Just like my dad's side of the family has diabetes, my mom's side has high blood pressure. I could get it. I have a higher chance of getting it, but it doesn't mean I will get it. But, with the way things are, with, not being able to afford to get tested, I'll never, unless I get another job that has, good health insurance, I'll never know. Unless it gets to the point where what happened to you during work.
Yeah.
Which was scary.
I would avoid that.
But yours was pretty extreme.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could happen to anybody. And the sad thing is, people do get into that situation. They can't call and get taken care of, because then they might as well, at that point, they might as well just passed away. It would have been cheaper for them. Which is it's a sad thing to say, but that's how it is.
I mean, even in this day and age, you see a lot of topic around, a lot of stuff around on mental illnesses and things like that, and you look at, it was okay because women had postpartum depression and things like that. There was a reason for those, and now as a male who if you have depression, you're just what are you doing?
You're not a man.
Yeah, you're not a man. Bottle it up. Suck it back in.
What's really upsetting is there's actually a famous stream, a YouTube person, basically a social media personality, that his thing is you're faking it. Be a man. Get over it. It's done. That's not how mental problems work. Mental issues don't work that way. It's not that simple. And while yes, he may not be the direct reason for something, there was another somewhat well-known YouTube personality that committed suicide, but he was basically he pulled the pin basically, and that was the last thing, because of what the things he was saying to this person, saying that you're he was goading him on, saying, hey, you're full of shit, basically be a man.
Yeah.
And if you can't deal with it, kill yourself. And he did. No repercussions for this guy for saying that kind of shit either.
Yeah.
I mean, people are upset with him, but he has this loyal following of assholes who are just like him. Just like, we have people who believe that, hey, either you believe in God the way I do, or you'll burn in hell. People have that mob mentality, which is insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think with any train of thought, there's always a set of followers. And I mean, you look at, even 4 years ago, nobody ever thought that Trump could win an election. And you know what? There's enough people that think like he does that aren't in the urban populations.
Yeah.
And, lo and behold, we have...
Well, as soon as he started speaking and I heard the stuff that he was saying, I had a feeling that he was going to win. As sad as it is, I had a feeling that as much as I didn't want it, it was going to happen because America still is in a... We've taken steps forward, but we're still too many steps back.
Well, those steps forward are still in urban areas.
Yeah.
They're not in the rural areas.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you have more population that's outside those urban areas that are forward to things like that. And that's why this election is going to be the last election was something for the history books, but not as much as this one will be, just because everything that's happened this year alone has been crazy for everybody.
It's amazing. I don't know if you even paid attention, but that's what Trump came out and said in the news today.
Really?
Yeah, so you're just spouting Trump rhetoric now.
and not even realizing it. How dare I? I'm not white enough for that. Oh boy.
There you go, pulling the racist card.
Yes. But yeah, this year I think this is going to be the first year that the third party, specifically the Libertarian Party, is going to be noticed for once. Now, it probably won't win, but people are going to notice it. That it's there finally.
Yeah, and the sad part is it's going to suck votes from one of the candidates. And, that's the nature of a third party, is it's going to pull in some voters from somewhere.
Yep.
And it may not be the
one that the lesser of two evils, but just like last time, there really isn't a lesser. And that's just me, my opinion. Whether there is or not, I don't have all the facts. I haven't researched it myself, so this is just me basing it off my own opinions.
I saw it was a pie chart or something like that on Instagram, and it was probably one of the cooler things I've seen. But it was, you had a third of the population that voted for one candidate, a third of the population voted for another candidate, and then there's a complete third of the population that didn't vote. And that's
the problem, yeah.
If you want democracy to work, once again, it goes back to our original masculinity, yeah. And everybody wants the right to vote.
Yeah.
And if you don't use that right to vote, then it's not.
I think that in that instance, the problem is there are too many people that think, oh, why should I vote? It's not going to matter. My vote, I'm just one person. It's not going to make a difference, but it can. You can be the tipping of the scale.
Well, and if 50 million people decided to voice their opinion, that would have tipped the scales.
And just it's interesting. Bernie Sanders has always tried to pander towards college students, but college students are the more notorious group of people to not vote because, one, they're either too lazy to take care of their vote, or two, they just think that their vote doesn't count because no one's going to listen to their voice.
Yeah, and you got, and I think that's the biggest problem is as people look at life, especially now, it's everybody has to constantly play the blame game.
Yeah.
And, teaching for 20 years, I can tell you that, the number of times I got an email or a call or something positive about my teaching, you could probably count on one hand.
But the amount of times they blame you for something that their kid did wrong.
Right. I mean, and it goes back to people always...
They want to demonize something. They want something to attack rather than to build up.
Well, it's the people who are disgruntled that have the biggest voice. People who are content and happy with, a teacher or with life just kind of roll.
Yep. And it's like I kind of follow that too. Like, there's always like on like YouTube or you go to a website, people want to take polls for like what do you think will make the site better or whatever. And these are sites that I use constantly. Like my mind, I can't bother with this. I just want to be here for my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just if you want to make the site better, just take a look at your code, find the flaw, fix it. That's it. Just like like I went on Hulu for the first time in a little bit, and they ruined it. The way they changed how it is on the app, how it is on the PlayStation and everything. It just, instead of having like multiple layers, like hey, you can look through like this genre this way, you can look through this genre this way. There's 2 rows, and you have to keep constantly pushing left or right to get to the movie or the TV series that you want to watch. That's like something that like version 1 of YouTube. They got rid of that for a reason. How do you go to something like that? I know it's not like a big issue, but it's like you want something fixed. Look at the problems.
Well, and that's the thing. It was probably Hulu asked people, and that's what the people who would take the time to do the survey.
Exactly.
That's what they wanted. So that's what you assume that's what the masses, want at that stage.
And that's why I'm part of I also part of that problem. But they should also. And while yes, I'm saying this now, but I still think like if you're gonna be a massive tech company like that, you should give them options. Do you want it like this or like this? Because before, like even now, like with the new version of Facebook, I'm still on the old style. I've seen people their Facebook looks completely different than mine. It's because you're allowed to choose between the two. Not that it's easy to find how to change it though.
I don't go on Facebook that much.
No, but it's just an example for a company that likes to suck our souls for $5. Just Facebook, Google, they're all the same. They're all because we chose to have the internet for free in terms of what we see on the internet, not the actual service, but the internet itself. They had to find ways to make money.
But I think, you look at once again what is popular even on YouTube,
mm-hmm.
and you see that gender kind of masculinity versus it not out on display. I mean, what's popular right now are the teens doing clothes and makeup and the stuff like that, and I mean that's.
So if I would have done what I'm doing now, like making T-shirts or whatever, let's say 10 years ago, people are like, hey, are you a fruit? Is that what you are? Like, no, I like to make money. I like to create things. But they would think that.
Right, and now it's like you could make your millions if you have the right topic on YouTube.
Which is crazy. Like on Kickstarter, that guy, like, I want to make a potato salad. He made $500,000 for wanting to make a potato salad. And he's like, and his like tiers of rewards. And I went over this with Zarbs, who was on here last time, and on the list of tiers, like he's like, yeah, you'll get a thank you, or you'll get a picture and maybe a bite of it sent to you. Or if I reach this milestone, I'll have a pizza party. If I reach this milestone, I'll make 2 bowls.
That's just, it's nuts what people will.
And like I like looking at that, like, I don't think he was really serious, and then all of a sudden it became a thing. And now you go on Kickstarter, there's all sorts of things related to if you type in potato salad, like, oh, you thought potato salad was good, think about this macaroni salad. It's like
right,
keyword.
There's always the
copycats.
Yeah, the followers that come back through. It's like, if I go back in time, what I'd want to invent? It'd be nothing fancy. It'd be the toothpick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the mainstay and, teeth cleaning and hors d'oeuvres for centuries.
Or even a straw. Something so simple as a straw. But like most people think like current they're like, oh yeah, I'd go back like maybe 5 years and buy 100 bitcoins for $1 and be a millionaire right now. So even right now, those bitcoins are worth a lot of money. But it's just the money that drives people.
Yeah, I'm not into the Bitcoin thing. You got to prove to me that it's going to be worth some.
I mean, like even right now, like we can say that, but not gonna say you're gonna be able to get that. But they're saying it's right as of today, $11,748.50 if you're able to convert your Bitcoin into dollars. But that's, I mean, for me, it's saying that yeah, it's worth to us, but the dollar value is becoming worthless right now. So typically, this is not usually not a thing. 85 cents to 1,001 is not a thing. If it's like that now, that's not a good sign for the dollar bill.
Right.
It used to be. That's not good. But anyways, it's like going back. So you saw the trend, and so how did you find out if they were being bullied after that trend of being cyberbullied? Like, did they show any signs?
Well, that's what you kind of had to go back through, and we got training and what to look for and how to. And it's like, holy cow! I am not a psychologist.
Right, and it's tough. But if you don't know the child personally, I guess it is difficult. And you being a teacher for 20 years, dealing with so many students every single year, it's, in some cases it might be like easy to spot out, hey, this guy doesn't look like he was maybe in the beginning of the year he seemed happy, but now he's extremely depressed.
Yeah, it's like I said, my first 10 years teaching, I had 180 kids a year in 6 classes of the same subject, and it was like, how am I supposed to know that Susie or Johnny or whatever is being cyberbullied now?
Right.
I was a compassionate enough individual that students would trust me enough that I would find out that way, where they would come talk to me. But I'm probably in the minority of how teachers would act.
Yeah, so most students can't trust an adult. They're not going to do shit. They're going to make things worse. So why even bother?
Which is, what that same rhetoric has definitely spilled over into society as can't trust the police because what are they going to do about it? You can't, Well,
I mean, when you have, especially with the whole Black Lives movement, like Black Lives Matter movement, they're the reason. Obviously, we know about it. It's been talked about enough that people should know that the reason why the minority of people in America don't trust the police is because how they're treated, how they're trained to treat certain ethnicities, and that's why kids are growing up to think, hey, we can't trust adults if the only thing they're worried about is their own job and not actually taking care of us.
Yeah, you even go so far as 10 years ago, you can't hire a person with a tattoo because they're no good.
Yeah, and that's changed. Actually, that's more of a recent thing where it's really changed.
Yeah,
it's like I used to be able just having this tattoo, I would not have been qualified for any job then, just because I have it there. Otherwise, unless it's a job where I can fully cover everything up, but even just wearing these bracelets that have no meaning to anybody else but me would prevent me from getting a job too.
Well,
not as much as having a tattoo, yes, but it's because it's there.
Well, my tattoo that I have that comes down, it came down to here for a reason because it's where my shirt stopped. So at the place that I taught at last, couldn't notice that I had a tattoo. Otherwise, I'd had to cover the whole arm, and
it would have been sweaty.
Yeah, hot.
With the way even private school, I guess not all private schools, but most school districts, most school systems are underfunded to the point where AC doesn't exist. So I know my son's elementary school, the AC, there was no AC. His middle school has no AC. That's why he's a little happy, like right now, that this whole virtual program is in place, because he has his own AC, and we have the heater. So when it gets cold, he has the heater. That's one thing that the school has. They have a heater. That was the easiest thing to install and the cheapest thing to install for any building. Is heat. Just boiling water and shooting up the steam from that.
Well, and you look at, it goes, actually, you look at that and you're like, people are like, why didn't the schools have AC? Well, let's go back to when, in the 50s and 60s when the building was built. School wasn't supposed to start until late September.
Yep.
Because most of the people were farming, and
that's when you actually harvest.
Yeah, so once the harvest was done, then you'd start school, which was out of the heat of the summer. And,
And then part of the reason why summer exists is because the rich people didn't want their kids in a sweltering building that had no way of cooling them down.
I think most people didn't want
people, but people listen to the people with money. So if the people with the money say, "Hey, you're not getting any more my money," who cares about the poor people? It's always been that way.
Well, and now you're looking at
different problems.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're looking at an education system that used to be number 1 in the world, and we've fallen to number 44.
Yeah,
and we've changed the techniques, but not necessarily how we truly define education in this country. Whereas
it's still in this, at least for the United States, it's still the athletes are what matters more than anything else. That's the way it's not necessarily true, but it's the way school is treated, because that's where all the money comes from. If you have a great football team, you're going to get donors.
Yep, and it's the same way in college, and that's why you look at these the COVID situation and not playing football for some of these big universities is a huge, huge loss, and the side that's suffering now is the academic side, because that's there's only so much money tuition can bring in to pay these professors.
Yeah,
and all the other stuff was covered under. The athletic budget would help out here and there, and
that's why they pushed it so hard. But I think even before COVID, I think it was still really sad. All the coach, schools, they can make so much money off of these college students, but the college students don't see a dime of it. I think that's going to be changing eventually, but still, I just me think what if I was an athlete? I would say, fuck you guys.
But the question is, I don't know. This is one of those things where I would throw out at the same time.
I wouldn't say have them make the same amount as pro players. But so, let's say I know like some of them that are fully covered, like they don't have to worry about ever paying the school back.
Well, I mean, a lot of the your scholarship athletes are getting a free education. You know, they're getting a paid education.
Yeah.
You know, as a school, if you have to pay your athletes and their tuition,
that's a loss.
You're starting to take a loss now. And yeah, I get it that the school is making money off of, you know, but you go to Notre Dame and you rack up, you know, $200,000 worth of debt as a normal kid just getting an education.
Yeah.
You know, versus a athlete that plays, let's say not football, but plays baseball, not a money-making sport, goes
True.
for free. I mean, that's a $200,000 basically payment that they got.
Yeah. And that's for kids that their age, it's good. But so I see both sides of arguments, but I still think that there should be somewhere in the middle where they can meet.
Well, I think they should allow those kids to get jobs and work, and I mean, yeah, that's where.
Or like some of those endorsements, it's like if they're on the cover, like when NCAA was still a video game,
mm-hmm.
they should have got some of the royalties for being on the cover, but they never did.
Yeah, or I mean, and that was the thing. Like I loved NCAA football. That was to me was one of my favorite games to play.
And that's why, like, out of all the sports games that exist right now, like NCAA 14, which was the very last one that was created, is the most expensive one.
I still have my copy.
Like, you can probably make like a couple $100 just off that one game. You're like, it's just a sports game. Who cares? But it's because they don't make any more. They can't make any more. Otherwise, they get sued pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
And EA's and 2K games, they don't have the time for that.
Well, and the funny part is you probably wouldn't see much change between the 2014 and the 2020 version, except for the
graphics.
Names. Yeah,
names and graphics. That's it. But that's the whole. That was the point, though. That's the reason why sports games do so well. And it's because you can see, well, on the 2018 his stats were this, and 2020 his stats are this. Do I want to use him in my main lineup or not?
Yeah, I used to be that way, and then it was like, meh.
And that's why, like, NBA 2, the NBA games, like, they have, like, the classic NBA players in there as a DLC, so you can play as Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen, whatever,
Yeah, but then,
It doesn't make sense because, they wouldn't have been able to play right now.
All the virtual coinage to get half the crap is the part that I think that's starting to get outrageous with video games, but...
That's a whole other topic. That's too much.
You'll have to have me back a couple more times. We got a lot to talk about.
Oh, God, that's like a huge can of worms right there. And it all started with, honestly, like PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era.
I mean, you go back to, I think about video games too, and how that used to be a guy thing. It was guys.
Yeah, because like, from what I've read and understand about, like, after the crash, Atari, the video game crash in the 80s, they couldn't put. So when Nintendo was coming out with the NES, the original NES, they had to figure out a place to put it. They couldn't put it in the electronics anymore because it failed in that department technically.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to put it in the toy department. But in America, toys are divided by male and female, blue and pink.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to make a decision, and they went with boys. And that's why, even up to now, all the commercials for gaming is about boys. Like, you're not, power with the power glove, now you feel the power, or like the Conqueror's Bad Fur Day, where there's a hot chick tickling him. Yeah, you like that, huh? Or your mom just doesn't get Dead Space. Remember that commercial? And the just like random women, like, oh my god!
But like I said, you're starting,
But women have been part of video games for a long time. I mean, like the biggest video games, like King's Quest, was created by a full women team. And there are a lot of women that beat the shit out of me at fighting games. Not sadly, but his mother is one example. She'd be a fighting game that I felt like I was confident I would always beat her at, because I played it a lot. She loses a couple rounds, and then I can never win again. That's one of those things. And you think, the stereotype is you're Korean, you should know. But I always put those kids like, but I'm also half Mexican, so that kind of, even though that shouldn't ever be a case, but it's the stereotype came into effect because of games like StarCraft, where it was hard to beat a Korean player because of how fast they set their hotkeys for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I never win.
No.
It's just that's their territory. But like, if you come to other types of games, they don't do as well, though.
Well, and you're starting to see the marketing. I mean, even I look at the culture now of like Sims and things like that, where it's a very gender neutral.
And how long so it used to be like Sims 1 and 2 were not that far apart in like how long it took to create, but they really are milking Sims 4 really hard.
Or even with the newest release, Animal Crossing. I mean, that was one that's been bought, across the gender world. I've follow some celebrities on Instagram, and they're posting that they're sitting there playing Animal Crossing, and
that's funny. Like you go think about like those kind of games where they're gender neutral, like, but you're just literally playing out your life, like what you want your life to be, in those simulation type of games. When you can try to do that for real, not like Animal Crossing, obviously, but there are things like in Sims, which is plausible to do in real life. Learn a new skill, learn a new trade, But it's so much easier just clicking point. Hey, you do that. You burn to death here. You take a shower. You trim the hedges, things like that. But it's enjoy people that have thousands of hours on these games. Get sucked into that world.
Yeah,
and that's where the problem is with and that's why people demonize games too. Like in South Korea, it happened where these parents would leave their kids, their baby, who eventually passed away, because they would go to the internet cafes and play MMORPGs and take care of their virtual baby, not their real baby, but their virtual baby.
Yeah, it's messed up.
It's messed up, but it's people like, oh yeah, there's a whole other thing. The reason behind that, why that happened. People are going to demonize a video game more than the underlying issue.
Yeah.
So they're going to say, hey, he wasn't being man. He should have been manly enough to take care of the baby and fix his wife at the same time.
Yeah, in this day and age, I'm not sure how many guys would be like, yeah, I could fix my wife.
That's not something you can...
No, I would... No.
That's a dangerous thing to say.
Something I would never say.
Now you'll let your wife say it to you, because and for the longest time it's been happy wife, happy life, and it's still true to this day. Like that's why it's like, hey, as much as women have been disenfranchised and have been taken advantage of, but there are things that they have a lot of power over us men, because they deserved it. They deserve it, and we give it to them.
Well, it's even the reverse. Good girl always falls for the bad boy, and they think they can.
They can fix that bad boy.
Fix the problem, and it's
especially when they're dating, like they say, a crackhead. They think they can fix it, get them on the straight and narrow, but it never happens. People can change, but they have to want it for themselves, and and it's a hard thing to do. Like for me, actually working out. Actually, I do it every now and then, but I should be doing it every day. Something that keeps me moving. So if I really want to lose weight, not really lose weight, but lose the roundage, because the numbers don't really matter. So I could weigh the same amount and be pure muscle. That's always a possibility. They say, oh, muscle weighs more than fat, which is true. But I'd rather sit down and play a video game or do something else. And yes, mowing the lawn, trimming the weeds, and then putting them all in a bag just so the trash people can pick it up. That's a workout in itself. Yeah. Especially at your place. Your place is huge. Like if you decide to want to actually rake everything up after you're done, that would be a pain.
I don't know, your yard. Well, me and my wife were talking about that kind of the topic of mowing the other day, and it's like now you look once you mowed, especially in this town.
Yeah.
Once you've mowed your hill once or twice, you start looking around going, next house I have, I'm going to buy it. It's going to be flat.
Yeah.
It's not. Or you look at other people's and like, how do they mow that all the time? That hill goes like that.
Yeah. Well, I see my neighbors doing it. They have the whole hill next to me. I had a little hill, and like the past 2 times I try to just go up and down, I slip and fall. Because even though it's not wet, it hasn't rained for a while, it's still slippery. I guess people are like, you maybe wear some cleats or something, but I don't want to buy cleats just to do the damn lawn. So I just want to wear whatever I have. So now I have to do it halfway down, and then do the whole backyard, and come back, and when I'm down in that area, halfway up. Go up and down like that. It's similar amount of time either way, but it just seems like the way, how I see how the lawn should be mowed in a constant circle, until that area is done. With an area, next area, constant circle until you finish everything up. But it doesn't have to be that way, or more of a rectangle or square,
So your way looks like you're doing crop circles in your yard.
Well, I'm saying I just kind of like keeping one area done and then go to the next one, keep it, and then until it's all done evenly.
I don't know. I could see you making crop circles in your yard, and then getting freaked out that aliens are coming.
I'll be excited.
You would be.
I would be. I mean, it's not that my main belief. I think it's funny because, when we talk about aliens, when I was going to that Christian school where I did ninth grade twice, which, just because I was being rebellious towards having to do Bible class and have chapel every Wednesday, and that's a whole thing. But, my dad, they were talking to my dad, trying to make him a Christian, because obviously that's their mission. Turn everybody Christian, I think it was a Protestant Christian group. But he asked them, how do you know that this life isn't just an alien experiment? They never have an answer for him. It's always funny. Or the question he always asks that there's never an explanation for, so if Jesus was on this side of the world saving everybody, what about my people? For him being Mexican, what about the Aztecs? The people on this side of the world. Where was their salvation? Were they not good enough? No one ever has the answer for that. I know, there's more to it than that, but he tried to make it simple enough for them to answer, but it's never a simple answer for religion,
No, religion and politics are just two things I try to avoid.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, there's that really famous evangelical pastor that's been milking this COVID thing to no end. I mean, what does he need a private jet for, really?
I don't know, because I would want a private jet if I don't know where I'd go, though.
Right, especially right now where we can't actually go anywhere because they're blocking us from going anywhere in these countries, which is understandable because, how Americans in general are treating this whole thing. And as understandable because there was a lot of misinformation to start with. Everybody was like, it's just like the flu. But I've never met anybody who had a severe flu that had to have a freaking tube down their throat just to survive.
Yeah, it's, that American belief that we can,
The herd immunity is what Americans really believe in, especially those anti-mask people.
I'm not one of them. Wear a mask, people. Seriously, wear a mask.
Yeah.
Just wear a mask. Let's get this over with because I'm done.
So the things I always bring up, wear a mask, wash your hands, which is something that should have been part of your daily life to begin with before COVID. Wash your hands, very important. Not for 2 seconds, but actually spend time washing those in between, getting in there, up and down, boom, and rinse it out. And actually dry it all the way through. If you have an air dryer, that's even better. If you actually spend time to dry it. Yes, it costs more electricity to consistently have the thing blowing on you, but it's better for you than trying to grab some paper towel that you might have to touch the other plastic that people who didn't wash their hands properly touched,
Yeah, but
there are so many things, but wearing the mask is going to be a key factor in beating this, or lowering the curve, flattening the curve.
But then you look at it as a, early, once again, it goes all the way back to our original topic, dirty hands mean you were working,
If you have oil on your hands, you're a real man.
I don't know. To me, you just got dirty hands.
Yeah. That means Amelia is a real man every day, huh?
Yeah, those kids, all those little kids are real men all the time.
They're manly.
Covered in ice cream and half of my backyard all on her hands. Yeah.
Well, so wearing the mask is so yes, a lot more people, especially here in our town, because the city mandate for it. But people gotta understand there are There's a right and wrong way to wear the mask too, and there are actually wrong masks to wear. So if you don't cover your nose and your mouth, you're not doing anybody a favor. You're not doing yourself a favor if you have your thing just covering your mouth and someone coughs on you and then you get it through your nostrils. Then there's the ones where it has, like, one side has the filter. Well, yes, for them, it filters it out so they don't have to worry about it. But when they breathe it out, it doesn't filter anything. It just comes out. So while they seem like they should do better, they're worse than wearing like a cotton mask or a disposable mask. Now, the ideal thing would be to have one of those respirators, the filter things, that you use at work yourself. Or you have the ability to wear at work if you need to, depending on the department you're in. That's not practical. People don't want to walk around with gas mask.
No, it's hot enough in there already.
I think the funniest thing, the biggest excuse that people try to give is like, hey, my doctor said I don't have to wear a mask. No doctor's ever going to say that, though. Even our, the one that's, we're supposed to be listening to, Dr. Fauci, has said that there's no doctor that would ever say that to anybody. So if he's saying that, what you're saying is a big lie. And I think it was funny when people are trying to pass off this card saying, yeah, you can't make me wear because I'm a part of this group, which was illegal. What they were doing was showing that card was illegal. I thought that was funny. And it didn't work, and they complained about it, but it was still funny.
Just wear a mask so we can get some sort of normalcy back.
It's never going to be normal again because, of course, with any virus, any bacteria, it does evolve. But hopefully we get the vaccine, some sort of vaccine soon, and from there we can create some sort of immunity. I mean, the measles were gone for a long time. Remember that?
Hey,
And the anti-vaxxers, I thought, hey, these vaccines are causing our children to being autistic, so we're not going to have them do it, and the kids have measles.
Well, hey, the bubonic plague's back too, so we're nothing's ever gone.
It's never gone, but it could be prevented. But that's why this whole it's crazy. They have like all these things where it makes it seem like what they're talking about is legit, but when you actually look at what they provide as evidence, it's crazy talk.
Yeah.
Just like flat Earth, the Earth is round. It's been proven many times, but there's this huge flat Earth believers. A group of people who believe that Earth is flat. It's like,
what are you talking about? The Earth is round. It's flat.
What was it, that famous, pop star rapper guy, B.O.B.? He believes it, heavily believes in that, the Earth being flat. So because of people like that other people follow, The more famous you are, the crazier things you believe in, more people are soon to follow.
Yeah, like I said, it goes back to the whole popularity of what's in and what's out.
Like Scientology.
Right. Even, like I said, that group of YouTube females that are making millions based on testing out beauty products and clothing
or the ones that adults playing with toys and making money. There are a lot of channels where their kids are playing with toys and getting advice, other kids getting advice, but when you see the adults doing it, just showing their hands playing with toys and being creepy as hell, but they're got all these views and making tons of money.
Yeah, I gotta come up with something for that. I don't know. Maybe I'll just play with a toothpick and a straw on the screen for a while,
or make it into a stop motion video right there. Boom! Hey, I'm playing with my toys, and the end.
A little claymation style.
Yeah. What's toothpicks?
Yeah. Toothpick animation.
And we'll get Amelia involved, so you put her face I made this. Yeah.
It's toothpick animation. Toothpick and straw animation. We'll be famous. Nobody can steal that. We're going to copyright it right now.
It's been done. It's sealed.
Done. Signed, sealed, delivered.
Yeah. I don't have much else to say about this topic other than manliness. There isn't one set rule for manliness. Honestly, it's what you make of it.
Well, I think it's, being a man means many different things to many different people.
Exactly.
And in this day and age,
But I think that what would help a lot is if Hollywood, video games, and all these like medias where people actually listen and follow, should try to stay away from that archetype where bottling up your feelings and everything is a real man. That causes a lot of problems.
Well, I mean, it even comes down to, women should be allowed to wear whatever they want to wear. And
Right.
There's no reason that, men should be taught not to rape women.
I was, for as old school as my parents are, that was the first thing, like, one of the first things, don't. And then she says, yes, don't. That's something you're taught in kindergarten. Do you have the permission? No. Then why are you doing it? You're taught that in kindergarten.
I know. I mean, there's thousands of analogies that go back. Everything you need to know in life you learned in kindergarten.
Yeah. Except it doesn't follow, like, it doesn't stick with some people. And yet, if you, going back to the manliness, going back to schools, going to sports, if you're in college on a sports, some sort of sports scholarship, and you, like that one kid that raped that girl, he was in there for 6 weeks and he was out. But
Yeah.
if I did it, I'd be in there for a long time. But not as long as, say, somebody was caught with weed. The justice system is not proportionate to where it should be.
Hey, at one point in this town, it was more offensive for you to take your dog to a park than it was to drive drunk. So,
Dubuque has evolved. A little bit. I mean, now they're trying to collect money for people who have pets. That's insane.
Those people.
I mean, if I was doing what my dad does and actually walking my cats, that'd be a different story, but I still think it's hilarious. And then that's the video I actually have up that people can see. Walking the cats. And playing fetch with the cats.
If you did that, plus the TV, I don't think we'd be friends. This would be too much. You might as well just wear penny loafers and black socks and mow your yard in those.
I thought about it.
I'd drive by and I'd keep going.
Throw a milkshake at my face.
I would not waste the milkshake.
Anyways, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me, sir.
We'll definitely have you back on here. We'll talk about some other stuff, but yeah, I think having a teacher's insight is always a good thing.
I always have an opinion on something.
Yeah, everybody does, right?
Yeah, I never know what it is, but I have an opinion on something.
And the competition is still going on. If we can get to 250 subscribers, you get a free Black Lives Matters t-shirt. Or, if you don't want one of those, a t-shirt of your choosing.
I like my Black Lives Matters t-shirt, so, you know.
But I know that not everybody who watches this, is into it. So I want to respect their wishes as well.
He does good work.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's going on. And like I said, keep your hands clean, please. And wear those masks.
Yeah. Sneeze into your arm.
With the mask on.
Yeah. Don't burp in your mask, though. That's gross.
Oh, that smell. That
Well,
lingers.
yeah.